a lot of politics are being used, directly. It's always been politics used in everything. But now I understand they're telling a lot of the artists from the 60s, this is what the people that are running the shows, because they don't want to pay, they don't want to pay you legendary prices. If you've been working for 30 years, you should be able to get at least $1,000 for every year that you've been out. So that's $30,000 a night.
And
you know what I'm saying?
People are coming out to the shows. The shows that you're doing are proof of that. The shows that you've done over here, the NEC, Wembley, 11,000 people each night. That's a tremendous draw.
Listen, this is what they're telling. They're using politics against the new and the old artists. They're telling the old artists, well, you're hot as your last record. But Chuck Berry's proof that that's not true because he's still working and he hasn't had a record. But they're saying, well, we can't get the money for you because you don't have a record. Then you can't get a record at a record company because they're telling you, well, we don't want nothing but the new artists. Then they're telling the new artists, well, the old artists are the ones that they want on the shows. They're the ones, they got the show thing going. So they keep us.
It's a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's a circle. The new are thinking, well, the old are better and they're doing all the shows, and so they got the records out being played, but we're the ones doing the show circuits. And they're telling us we need a new record.
Yeah.
But we can't get the new record. They can't get the shows. We can't get the new records. And I hate to get off the subject and get back to the book because that's, it's so important for people to hear sometimes things that have happened to you. But the title of my book is called A Letter for the Postman. I want to put that in there because usually the postman is bringing everybody else letters. Yeah. So I thought that would be cute. And I do have a letter in that last chapter, the letter. That's right. A Letter for the Postman, which is the title.
Freddie Gorman was one of the writers of Please Mr. Postman. I believe he was a mailman at one stage, wasn't it?
No, Freddie Gorman did not write Please Mr. Postman. He had nothing to do with the writing of Please Mr. Postman that the Marvelettes did. Yeah. He did that for, he was a postman and he was using a gimmick. Yeah. So he was telling everybody that he wrote Please Mr. Postman. That's
because he was actually credited on the record, wasn't he?
He was credited, and how he did that I don't even know. Because the only two names that should be down as writers on the Marvelettes versions, the originals did a version called Please Mr. Postman. Yeah. And I don't know if that's how he got his name being put on there. I really don't even know. But there should be only two names as writer for Please Mr. Postman, and that's William Garrett, who was the very first person that ever wrote a song that we knew of called Please Mr. Postman. And he allowed a girl in our group named Georgia Dobbins to use only the title and to write a whole new story. So Georgia took his title, Please Mr. Postman, and wrote that version that you hear the Marvelettes do. She wrote that all by herself and came and taught me. I didn't even know Freddie Gorman. So there's no kind of way that Freddie Gorman, he got kind of angry at me because I refused to go along with his little gimmick, but I said it's a lie. I can't tell the people a lie. If he had wrote Please Mr. Postman, don't you think he would have did it? He needed a hit, and he was a postman. So if he would have put two and two together, if he had wrote Please Mr. Postman, he would have sung it himself. But it was such a catchy thing. Everybody wants to say they wrote Please Mr. Postman. Robert Bateman and Brian Holland did the background. You hear the wait a minute. They worked on the background, but that solid story, straight down, was written by Georgia Dobbins, and it was William Garrett's title. Yeah. So Robert and Brian helped with the production of the song, but they didn't even write the song. If they had wrote it, do you think that the Marvelettes would have got the song? There were other groups there before us. So that song did not even come out of Motown. It came from Inkster, Michigan, where the Marvelettes are originally from.
I know that this sharing writing credits did go on a lot at Motown. People who were not involved with the records. And
you don't share your writer's credit unless that person wrote the song. Their name is not, if they produced the song, if they arranged the song, whatever they did, there's a songwriter's income credit that's given off that song, which I hope I may be helping a lot of people that are writing songs, because the way I understand it's done every day. People just don't know. When you write a song, when you sit down to write that song and you're by yourself, your name is the only one that should be down as writers. Now, the next day, you may meet a friend of yours that plays bass and someone that plays guitar and piano. You say, hey, I got this song. I want you to put some chords to it. You can share a songwriter's income with them. In other words, you can give each one of them. But their name, once you put their name down there with you, that means they get full writing credit with you. If someone wants to do that in other words, it's just like giving your copyright to a book. If you don't have your complete copyright, you got to get in touch with someone else if they want to do a picture. So no one's name, that protects you as the writer.
Yeah.
Of course, you can share your song with others who does, but it's not called writers.
Yeah. I know I was speaking to Martha Reeves, and she was saying that it was probably inevitable that you would encounter some problems from the business side of it because you were also very young at the time.
Yeah,
but obviously,
busy. We were so busy getting our show together and our act together and being professional on stage. You didn't have time for all that. I mean, everything was done fast, Where they had some people that didn't do nothing but just sit up and think about the business aspect of it. They didn't get out there and do those shows.
These guys
were thinking about 20 years later.
Yeah. These guys were sitting in Detroit while you were out touring the country and working,
Right.
So they had the time to.
How are we gonna end up the winners because you can go so far in music till after a while. I mean, if you get off into writing and producing, you really don't need. You use your company for the name, but they wanted a piece of a piece of all the pie.
Yeah.
So in order for them to be able to get something from everything, they had to kind of keep you so busy till you couldn't really get off into the business. You didn't think to get a lawyer, and you didn't think to check on your royalty statement. You were glad to get what you got, and so a lot of us know better now.
Yeah.
We've had to pay the price of still being poor, but I mean, it's something that they can't take from you. The knowledge is what they can't take, and the professionalism that you did yourself, that you worked toward,
Classic, I'll keep holding on. So I'd like to thank you for spending so much time with us and giving us the opportunity to interview you. And we wish you every success with this new book. I'm sure it's going to be a blockbuster once it does come out.
All right, thank you. And like I said, if there's any publishers out there that would love to publish Gladys Horton, and by the way, it's the first Marvelette story that has been told, the original girl. It's the first book that has been written on any of the lives of the original Marvelettes. I'm looking for a publisher, and at the end of the show, you can give them TAC, because Barry's my manager over here, or they can get in touch with you. And I would be glad to release it here to see how it would do. Although I grew up in the States, I'm just searching for
a lot of fans over here. So
yeah, there are a lot of fans, and I could come over with a book tour, and it would be really
anything
great.
to get you in this country's got to be good.
Okay, all right, I know.
We're going to finish with your favourite record. Would you like to introduce it?
Yes, Locking Up My Heart.
Thank you very much, Gladys.
I'm still in love though, but I'm locking my heart up too.
I'm pulling up my guard. I'm locking up my heart. Telling the Cupid to pass by me, 'cause all of everybody was a misery.